Okay, here we are. Alt.nerd.obsessive. Worst episode ever.
Hey everybody, welcome to Worst Episode Ever, a podcast for people who love The Simpsons, by people who love The Simpsons, about how much we hate The Simpsons. We're here trying to find which is the worst episode ever. My name is Dan.
My name is Jack.
And today we have another good episode for you for our 30th episodery.
Our 30versary.
Our 30versary. All right, how many more words can we make up for arbitrary episodes?
4.
All right. That was 2, so by the end of this podcast, we'll get 2 more. Hey everyone, welcome. We're watching a episode from season 22, actually our first episode from season 22.
It's amazing we've gone 29 episodes
Yeah.
and somehow missed this one post-classic season.
Our blind spot of a season. We are watching Love is a Many Strangled Thing. It is the 17th episode from season 22, originally aired March of 2011. Jack, have you seen this one?
I don't think so.
I haven't either, and the only thing I know about it is Paul Rudd is in it.
Oh, wow.
So there you go.
That doesn't sound familiar.
No. So yeah, this is from season 22, and this was actually suggested by listener Chris Kiernan and a few other listeners whose names are lost to the sands of time.
If you suggested any episodes before we
got our shit together.
Before we discovered Google Docs and
Yes,
spreadsheets. Then just a collective thank you to the unknown suggester.
Yes, we appreciate
an eternal flame.
But speaking of episode suggestions, we've made it much easier on you and on us. If you now go to our website, wepodcast.com, you'll see there is a link to suggest an episode on that website, and it's a very easy form you can just fill out and write in your episode, and we promise we will mention your name if you use that form.
So try to use a form. Obviously, you can still email us or message us if you do, but they do tend to get buried because we check them at work, and then we have real work to do. And
Definitely.
So sometimes your names get lost or the suggestions get lost. So try to use this web form that Dan made because it's if I do say so myself, it's a pretty nice form.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I had a little help from Google Forms. Maybe you've heard of it.
Good form.
Good form, yes. And speaking of our website, you should click through those Amazon banners, but in addition to that, we have our Summer of Fans.
Right.
Not really a contest, but our Summer of Fans
just a
extravaganza.
A big thank you to you guys. And
yes, and that is where there's another link on our website. You can go and actually email us an audio clip of you, the listener, saying cut all this in some way, and we will use that to close out the show as opposed to our usual crap.
We've got a couple so far, and thank you to those who have. If we had one piece of advice, try to keep it short and sweet, because one of the reasons we're doing this is because our endings are too long. Because
we tend to ramble.
We tend to ramble. So if you can keep it real simple, like pretty much just say cut all this, it'll go a long way towards cutting all this.
Right, and if you don't, we're going to have Groophic and Dan Dalek every day doing the closing of the episode.
Doing 45-minute wrap-ups.
They have like an Abbott and Costello comedy routine that they're dying to show you, but you don't want to hear it, trust me.
I don't know what's out there.
How come you're the Dalek and now I'm Groophic?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. Anyway, so Love is a Many Strangled Thing. That is the episode we're watching today, and if you have not seen it yet, you can do so on simpsonsworld.com or probably someplace else. I don't know where anywhere. So we're going to take a break, watch that episode. We're going to come back. We've got a guest who's going to join us.
Yeah, right now he's in a production booth. But,
yes.
Will you be ready for us?
Yeah, I'll be there.
All right, thank you. All right. We'll learn who that mystery voice was, even though it's probably already in the episode title, and you already know. We're going to watch the episode.
Bart, I'm trying to get you to feel something for your father.
I feel something for him. Here it comes.
Why, you little... Oh, this is a tough neck. Oh, it's so strong. It's like an oak. You see how that boy pushes your buttons? We'll talk when he's dead. Just break already.
So that was Love is a Many Strangled Thing. As opposed to Love is a Many Splintered Thing, or the 8 other Simpsons episodes with similar titles.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into how good or not good, spoilers, not good, that episode was, let's bring in our guest. He's out of the production booth, and he's in the regular booth.
In your ear holes. Oh, yeah.
Coming at you live. From
everybody.
Connecticut. It's
Groophic and the D. on your morning radio dial.
By which we mean Brice Canedo-Pullan. Welcome back, Brice. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me again.
You were sort of here a couple weeks ago in the
Sort of,
production
yeah.
booth. And,
In the isolation booth.
Obviously, you've been on the show before. You're our first. Is he our first repeat guest?
Well, we've had people do 2 in a row, but they were within the same 2-week span.
Right,
so
right.
this is the
I'm
first
the
time.
first guest with 2 non-consecutive terms.
You're the Grover
right, the
Cleveland,
Grover Cleveland.
Exactly.
of we guests.
There you go.
For those of you who don't know Brice, he is an assistant editor on the hit television show Blue Bloods,
Yes.
of which none of us have seen, but it is a.
I've seen it.
Well, Brice has seen it.
hope you've
I've seen it. Doing the blind edit.
Yep.
Well, you don't want spoilers. You got to watch it live.
So let's just get into the episode.
Let's do it. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened in this episode, Jack?
Yeah, I could do that. So it starts off with a weird Around the World in 80 Days parody where Mr. Burns is doing a visual inspection. He gets stuck up in a balloon. Homer shoots him down and gets him down. So as a reward, he gets tickets to a football game at a brand new high-tech stadium. Long story short, Homer tickles Bart, and Bart pees himself in front of everybody on the fan cam, so everybody in the stadium sees it, everybody on the TV, on the news sees it. So because of that, Homer goes to a parenting class run by special guest Paul Rudd, who's playing Dr. Xander, a child or parental psychologist or psychiatrist, whatever. And
Also Ant-Man.
Yeah, and he's also Ant-Man. And he once he finds out that Homer actually strangles Bart, it's kind of, he's shocked, so he gets Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to strangle Homer repeatedly until it's like aversion therapy, until Homer can no longer strangle Bart and is actually afraid of Bart. So now Bart is completely out of control because he has no father figure, no discipline. So then Marge enlists Paul Rudd's help to get them to become good parents, help them
Have a good father-son
which
relationship.
probably should have done in the first place. And then the episode kind of just ends with Paul Rudd realizes Bart's a brat and starts strangling him. And Homer goes, "You can't strangle him. That's my son. Only I can strangle him." And he breaks Paul Rudd's grip or Bart from Paul Rudd's grip.
And then it ends.
And that's it. And
Yep.
then there's a B plot, by which I mean one scene where
Yeah.
Marge and Lisa do something on their own.
Yeah, we'll get into that. Boy, that description makes this episode sound a little crazy.
Let's start with...
Let's talk about like kind of the elephant in the room of this episode. This is an episode that glorifies child abuse, right? Is that the read you guys got?
Well, no, it's kind of calling Homer's strangling out. Like, Homer's been strangling Bart since day one, since the Butts era.
No, my point is, Paul Rudd is rightfully incensed that like Homer strangles Bart, and then ultimately he's the one he strangles Bart also, and then it ends.
Yeah.
It just comes away feeling like, oh, you have to strangle Bart because Bart sucks.
Right.
You just strangle the sucky kid.
I thought it was... I had a feeling it was going to get there. Like,
Yeah.
when they first started with the whole, like, well, you can't strangle your son. I was like... I feel like in the end they're going to realize that, like, everybody strangles Bart because he's so crazy. And I was like, I hope they go somewhere else with that because, this is really the obvious way to end it.
Right.
And then they didn't. And I was like,
I mean,
so-
they had to
just
bring it back
ended.
to a status quo unless you stop having Homer strangle Bart, and that's it. We only get 22 seasons of Bart strangling.
Yeah.
and then that's
And then
it.
no more.
Yeah, that's not enough.
Then they switched to bare bottom spanking. Yeah.
It also wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't...
Right.
And I don't mean in a, oh, this is offending me. I just meant it wasn't a funny idea that it went back to strangling Bart. And the way it happened wasn't funny either.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, so a big part of why this episode didn't work was because it was poorly structured, poorly plotted, poorly written, and not funny. But
That's the only... Yeah, just that.
just that. That's all. But otherwise, everything else
Fix
was great.
those things, and you got a decent episode.
But I'm guessing the concept of the episode was one of those meta HD era ideas where let's.
Well, it's a little like Homer's Enemy, where it's like, let's bring some reality into this situation.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Homer's been strangling Bart since day one, so this was kind of a look at that. Like, hey, let's put the magnifying glass on what's really going on here. Yeah. That could be interesting. I don't think I don't know if there is a way to make it work.
I like I like the idea at first. I love that Paul Rudd is just aghast at the fact that he's strangling his son, and everybody in the room's kind of like, ugh. And it was, I mean, it's an acknowledgement of, yeah, this is a cartoon, and no one would really do that, and that's terrible. And it was, I thought it was funny.
Yeah. Well, here's I think why it didn't sit well with me. First of all, the Homer strangling doesn't happen. He just says that he's done it, and the thing that kicks off the episode is this weird thing with Bart peeing his pants instead.
Yeah, there's really no...
There's no way to bring strangling into the episode except Homer just saying that he does it.
Right.
And we've seen it in other episodes.
Yeah, and what's weird is they had a perfect way to do this. I mean, the idea is that everybody is like shocked to find out that Homer strangles Bart. They're all like, oh wait, this has been happening? This is terrible.
Yeah.
So the way they should have done it was, instead of him tickling Bart and getting him to wet his pants, he should have strangled Bart on the fan cam, and everybody go, holy shit, we just saw a man strangle his son.
Exactly.
This is terrible. Like, the inciting incident is there.
Right. It makes so much more sense from a character perspective, because instead you have, we're kind of jumping around this episode, but the thing was the make an ass of yourself cam at the football game. Yeah. And everyone in the stadium is doing like stupid things, like Disco Stew does like a little dance. The crazy old man actually dies and his soul starts dancing.
I like that.
Which was fun. It was a funny visual gag. But
I hope they bring him back. I hope he's not dead for dead.
But Bart, of all people, is like, no, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. But like, it's Bart. Like, Bart lives for attention, and doing these kinds of things. So it was a weird choice to like make it where Homer is trying to make Bart do it by tickling him, which is something we've literally never seen.
He should have strangled Bart.
Right. Yeah. Wouldn't it have made more sense for Bart to do something to Homer that would piss Homer off, and then Homer strangles him, doesn't realize he's still on the camera, and then the episode goes basically the same place from there.
Like, you don't have to do any rewriting. It's right there. It's amazing that they had it and they decided not to use it.
But my original point that I was trying to bring up was, we don't even see the strangling. And when it's done, it's always been very cartoony strangling, not a serious thing. But then when you have Paul Rudd as this like therapist character, he makes it real.
Yeah.
And it becomes like a real issue, and you're like, oh, Homer does actually strangle Bart. Like, that's pretty messed up. And by the end of the episode, it's back to being a joke. And I don't really think the episode earns that. Yeah, like, they humanized it a little too much. And then at the end, when Paul Rudd's doing it to Bart, it's still like, well, I thought that was wrong. And now it's like, what is this episode telling me?
There have been moments in the show
Is this a joke or is this not a joke?
Where I thought the strangling was too real.
When it's cartoonishly ridiculous, you kind of buy it. The bulging eyes, and you kind of get the pass on this is supposed to be ridiculous. And when they make it a little more real, you do owe it, I think, to the fans to go back to it being so utterly ridiculous that it's not not actually an issue.
That's why I compared it to Homer's Enemy, because Paul Rudd is basically playing the Frank Grimes kind of role and being like, this is not okay. Like, this is a ridiculous situation, like Frank Grimes says about Homer's basically his entire life in that episode. But then, Paul Rudd doesn't die at the end, which is nice.
Yeah.
Right.
But it just seemed, like you've uncorked this bottle and now it can't be recorked. Or at least this episode doesn't recork it.
Right.
It just felt like Bart should have done something completely insane to Paul Rudd, and then it should have,
That's a good point. There's nothing that Bart does to really justify Paul Rudd getting so mad at him.
It wasn't earned.
In fact, it was Homer. He was basically allowing Homer to die. But we'll get to that later. That's the end of the episode.
We're getting
way off topic.
Why don't we just talk in order? Why don't we just
go to let's start from the beginning?
Yeah, we'll start from the beginning and end at the end.
Well, that sounds a little out of the norm, but just this once I'll allow it.
So the episode starts off with Mr. Burns and Smithers in a hot air balloon, dressed in period turn-of-the-century French garb. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I like the idea that he would use a hot air balloon to do a visual inspection of the plant.
Yes.
And if you can turn that into a Around the World in 80 Days parody, extra points for that. But it didn't really make sense. I mean, I know it doesn't make sense, and I don't want to give it shit for being surreal. I like surreal. I guess it was just kind of shoehorned in. It just, I don't know. It just, it starts off with him reading a list of things in French.
Right, and it's all in French.
I was confused. I mean, I guess that's the reference, but it was
I'm guessing
it didn't really land for me. I was kind of like, all right.
Like 19th century French ballooning.
And
that was like a thing.
Yeah, and I think the joke is supposed to be, isn't it funny to hear Mr. Burns talk in French with a French accent, like because the way it was staged.
It wasn't really.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It was kind of
no.
lame.
I prefer the visual.
I like the I like the
French.
balloon. I like that they were dressed like that.
It was pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's for a guy who would be driving around like a Model T and wearing driving goggles. It makes sense that the guy would have a balloon, and that's how he would do the visual inspection.
And I did love when the balloon does take off and they're dropping off the ballast sandbags. They're just like landing.
That
on
was
cars.
a solid joke.
And the production was done really well. The sound design, everything with the way it would crash into these parked cars, and like everybody's looking up, like and like Mr. Burns isn't going to pay for it, so they're just kind of like screwed. Their cars totaled.
Well, I like everybody looking up in wonder, and then and then Mr. Burns crushing their cars and the graffiti. I thought the graffiti was a funny joke. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So on the roof of the plant, there was a picture of Mr. Burns that someone had spray painted, and it said "Kill Mr. Burns," and he's like, "Oh, I'll fix that," and they glide over it, and he makes it "Skilled Mr. Burns."
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Not as funny. I don't think it's as funny as one of my favorite Saturday Night Live sketches from the '90s with Rudy Giuliani.
Sucks. Yeah.
We'll add "sucks" to your name if you graffiti on the wall. That way, everybody will know you suck.
You compare a lot of Simpsons things to 90s SNL skits.
I compare everything.
It wasn't as funny as when Norm Macdonald
it's like
did this on Weekend Update.
I was like at the doctor's the other day, and he was like, "Can you describe your pain?" I was like, "Well, did you ever see when Elle McPherson hosted in 1996? It was kind of like that.
Beautiful but painful.
It's just like Canteen Boy.
In that I had my shirt off, and he kept touching me inappropriately.
What doctor do you go to?
Dr. Fun.
I feel like that's where we should insert some kind of sound effect. Yeah. I'm gonna send you a couple sound effects to put in here, Jack.
Like a slide whistle.
Yeah, slide whistle. Yowza.
So so the balloon meets its arch nemesis, its arch rival, a small breeze, or however the fuck.
Right. Yeah.
So they're blowing out of control. So now Homer realizes they have to shoot him down, which you would think they would be happy that Mr. Burns is blowing away to his doom.
Well, Mr. Burns yells for them to shoot him down, and there's this weird moment with Lenny. I don't know if you guys like this, but it was Homer or Lenny says, luckily I just went hunting this morning," and he opens up. And he's got a hunting rifle in his trunk, and he says, "Yeah, I bagged an elk. Wait, where is it?" And there's nothing on the roof of his car, and then he gets hit by an elk, and he's like, "Oh, I wonder if that was the same elk."
Yeah.
What did you guys think of that? I just thought it was
fine.
It could have been.
It was okay.
It could have been okay. It went on too long.
It was out of place.
It was like we were talking about the last few weeks, where a scene exists solely for this one joke.
Yeah.
And then because the scene is going, you're devoting way too much time than you should be for this one joke.
I agree completely, and it was also just like there were a lot of steps to get there. Like we're already in this ludicrous thing where Mr. Burns is in an old-timey hot air balloon, and now it's like, oh, but Lenny has a gun for some reason because he went hunting, and here's a joke about that.
Right, and if you need a joke based on this scenario with this, where they're trying to shoot down a balloon, maybe you can justify putting a little extra effort into it. But they actually had a lot of good jokes built into it already very well. So that whole elk thing could have been taken away, and the whole scene would have been stronger. Yeah. Like Carl says, he doesn't want to shoot the balloon down because a balloon saved his artery.
Yeah,
right.
That's like that balloon's
that was
cousin.
Funny. Yeah,
that's funny. Good. Yeah. So you have these jokes already embedded. I mean, there's one where Homer shoots and misses, and the seagulls change into
a question mark and an exclamation point.
Whatever. But at least that joke doesn't. It's not shoehorned in. It's not funny, but it's it makes sense in the context of the scene. Whereas it just made the elk thing stand out that much more.
The elk thing didn't bother me that much. I thought it was decently funny. I felt like even if you groaned, it was fast enough. I didn't start getting bored until Homer really came into
minutes
it.
Later.
I'll tell you this.
Once Homer got involved,
what did you think of his gun rituals?
The gun ritual thing, that was the point where I wrote down nope, joke ended for me. Yeah. Even after they went, and everybody else who was involved was funnier than Homer. Homer's stuff was boring. The birds were boring.
Agreed.
The biathlete stuff was pretty funny. I like that.
The line is, what is it? Because Homer keeps missing, so he's a poor shot. So the guy says, if this was a biathlon, or if you were a biathlete, you should
well, don't give up skiing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is just a really long way of saying you're a poor shot. So
Yeah,
I like that.
And also, isn't the biathlon weird?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of when he shot the "Marry Me, Pam"
I
banner?
thought that was funny. It was so bizarre that
Yeah, he shot
That
the
was
M
real
off, and it
bizarre.
says "Marry Me, Pa," and then it cuts to a random goateed millennial type guy,
Yeah,
and his
and his
50-something father, and the dad assumes that it's for him, and that his son is asking him to marry him, and then says, "That's sick, you freak." And
Yeah, I wrote down, why even do this?
I mean, I got it. It was a way to have a joke out of the. I guess it was just the execution was a little awkward, where they could have had the
Yeah.
father the two of them get really uncomfortable, or the girlfriend, the fiance to be, get really confused, and there
think-
could have been something.
There's a different way to do it, I think.
Yeah,
It was just a little. I don't know when the dad is sort of oh, that's sick, and slaps him.
Yeah.
It finished the joke. It was fine. I liked when he shot it, and the M came off, and it said "Marry Me, Pa." I was like, oh, it's funny. It's
No.
gonna lead to something.
Right.
It's gonna be a misunderstanding now.
Right.
It didn't. The last beat
The
didn't
misunderstanding-
land
the
that
misunderstanding
well.
was misunderstood.
Was the problem. Yeah.
But it didn't hurt as
I
much
think
as the rituals.
A big problem was, why are you doing this weird millennial guy and his dad that we've
Right,
never
that
seen
we've
before?
never seen before.
I'm trying to think, it should have been, a common Springfield character, and his dad, this would, if it was "Marry Me, Ma," that would have been perfect for Skinner and Agnes. I'm trying to think of who has a relationship with their father
It
like
could have.
that.
It could have even been "Marry Me, Margaret?" ? And he just shoots off the rest of it. Why did it?
Yeah,
have to be
marry
Pam for
me,
Pa?
May, or
Because that would have been good actually if it was Skinner and his mother.
Agnes, yeah.
That's the perfect.
That would have
setup.
been really funny.
But if you do keep the Pam and Pa, there's got to be who has a weird relationship with their dad. And
There's actually not that many relationships between a father and a son.
there's Reverend Andre's dad. He was in that one brothel episode. They could have brought him back.
That's right.
But it was really just awkward. And
Could have been Mr. Burns and his son.
Yeah. But I agree with Brice in that I like the idea of the joke. It is kind of surreal enough to be funny, but I agree with you, Dan, that it wasn't, because it was just why. I was also thinking why did they bother?
I'm thinking now if it had said "Marry Me, Margaret" and it was a Skinner Agnes thing, who is Margaret and why is Skinner asking
Well,
her
but
to
I think
marry
it would have
him?
just been a funny. It would have just been a funny
I know.
beat to have her go. And him go,
wait a
no,
second.
and then it would have just cut away.
Yeah, right,
You know
yeah.
what? It didn't ruin the laugh that I had before, unlike some of the other stuff that goes really long.
Wait,
so I can't penalize it very much.
Yeah.
It's just one joke that didn't land as well as opposed to some of the other jokes in that scene, which really did not work.
Definitely.
Wait. So did you guys think? So that guy, the dad and the son, he was the guy asking his girlfriend to marry him?
Yeah, I
Yes,
guess so.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I didn't even make that connection. I just assumed it was some random guy looking up and going, "Oh, I'm."
But where's his fiance?
Yeah.
Why
Is
is
he
it just the
watching
dad?
it with his
I mean,
father and not the
that's
fiance?
why
Listen, this is all Monday morning
Where-
quarterbacking. There is so much of this that happens in television where you watch it and you miss it and you go back again and you go, wait a second, how did he know who was behind the door if he hadn't
Yeah.
opened the door?
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense.
I
Is
really
it
no.
well
I
written?
just assumed because everybody sees this sign. I just assumed
Right.
it was some. You could it could have been any dad thinking any son was asking him to marry him.
Yeah.
I didn't even think that was the same guy that was asking Pam to marry him.
It would have been funny if they had the woman there too, and she was she gasped or looked disappointed, and then the father got upset or something. It might have added just a little more clarity.
What if it was like some kind of father-son reunion convention?
Oh, yeah, that
there was
would've been
a
funny.
bunch
Wow,
of
yeah,
dads and a
that's much
bunch of
better.
sons, and they all look up.
And they all just
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they all just give each other puzzled looks. That
Yeah.
says so much
Yeah.
more than "Ooh, you're a freak, son." Ooh.
Yeah, I think it was the you're a freak.
Did he say freak or did he say that's sick?
So, it's one of those.
Whatever
yeah, I
it
don't
was,
know.
just
Well, it is gross. Don't marry your father.
it is gross.
Don't marry your father, or
you,
you'll go
Groophic.
to hell. Met the devil.
No. Go far from here to the bus stop.
Oh, I'm glad Groofus got his groove back.
I've got my groove back.
He was so down before. The world is horrible. And bad things happen to good people for no reason.
Is that another Groophic?
Am I another Groophic? Too many Groofics?
We're all Groophic. 9/11 was an inside job.
Oh, God.
That Groophic has questionable opinions.
So he saves Burns. He does shoot him down. And Burns says, "I'll give you anything you want as a reward." I love that it was a really good line delivery by Dan Castellaneta. Homer just goes, "All of your money and all of your stuff."
Yeah, that was funny.
But then it wasn't funny where Burns was. Well, it
was fine.
Well, it goes. He's like, "How about season tickets to a football game? How about any tickets for bobblehead day?" And Burns is like, "Nothing head day." And then they cut, and it actually is nothing head day.
I thought that redeemed.
I thought that was funny.
It redeemed it. I thought it was.
What is
it started
nothing
going,
head day?
It's
nothing.
It's just
He's saying no
instead of bobblehead.
Yeah, nothing head day, and then it turns out to be.
What is it? But I'm saying, what is nothing?
Like, what would it
Have you
actually
never
be?
been to a nothing head day?
No.
It's great.
No,
You get nothing.
Yeah.
Head?
Well,
They actually take your head off.
Yeah. Everyone dies. It's a culling they do every 7 years.
Major League Baseball. Sometimes
So
it's very dark. Is there anything you want to talk about? I mean, we've already talked about the whole make an ass of yourself cam
Yeah.
That was
thing.
fine. I like the dead guy.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
And
like the
and there is
guy.
a precedent for the old Jewish man dancing. So
Yep.
Yeah.
he's done it before. The old gray mare.
She ain't what she used to be.
So I also kind of like the line where Homer's tickling Bart and he says, "What? Laughing is good for you. Hasn't the Joker taught you anything?"
Yeah, right. That was fine. Did you notice in this scene and kind of throughout the episode, Bart's voice a lot of the time just sounded like Nancy Cartwright's normal speaking voice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Like,
bizarre.
at one point, Bart didn't sound like Bart. He actually sounded like a little girl.
Yeah,
He sounded like Nancy Cartwright talking with a
Yeah.
pitch shift on it.
I noticed this.
I don't know if I'm breaking anyone's minds, but Bart is voiced by a woman.
Oh my God! So is Groophic. We actually have a woman. We won't say who, but anytime we quote unquote break into a Groophic voice, it's actually we stop tape.
Yeah.
This woman actually recorded all the Groophic lines for the
Yeah.
next 600 episodes all in one afternoon.
We can't say who it is, but it might be Jennifer Lawrence.
It might be. We're not saying it is. We're not saying it isn't.
You know,
It isn't.
but it could be.
Shut up.
No, so I noticed this before. I've noticed this from time to time, and it's like Julie Kavner. There's a big instance where she in the Simpsons movie where she does it, but it's basically when they're trying to do an emotional range that the character doesn't normally do. So I guess they're not practiced
Right.
at it. They kind of lose control of the voice, and they seem to revert more to their own natural voice. So
Yeah.
Bart was like really like embarrassed and humiliated in this scene, and
Definitely
which we
not
haven't
something Bart
seen.
is usually in that
Yeah,
situation.
Yeah, but we've seen Bart be embarrassed, and I haven't ever noticed it before.
It wasn't embarrassed, really. It's more like he doesn't have the power in the scene.
And
I
even
guess,
if
which is rare for Bart.
Even if it was the exact same emotional resonance that Bart had in a scene we have seen before, maybe she just got it right that time. But because she doesn't do it often, I feel like like how my Groophic voice seems to vary every time I do it. You know, and I mean I'm not a trained voice actor, but I could see how you could lose your.
Not with all those
Could have
skills.
fooled me.
Dude,
I'm a Dalek. I'm a Dalek.
Why is he singing?
Wow, are we on an episode of Doctor Who?
Dormammu, Dormammu.
I don't know why you're singing first. That's how bad a voice actor I am.
You didn't even know
It just happens.
Exterminate, exterminate.
Well,
Doctor Who, Doctor Who. Gonna get the doctor, gonna get the doctor. Where'd he go? Where'd he go?
That's much catchier than exterminate. That's from now on.
Boy, you should really petition for that.
Stephen Moffat, you can have that
Official
one.
Dalek theme song.
Stephen Moffat, you can have that. Instead of exterminate, Daleks will just sing Frere Jacquing saying Doctor Who, Doctor Who. Where did he
Gonna
go?
get the doctor, gonna get the doctor, Doctor Who. Where'd he go?
It's gold. If that's not menacing, I don't know what is.
Oh boy.
My point is, it's hard to do voice acting, so I could see how maybe Nancy Cartwright didn't do this type of embarrassed, humiliated Bart without power in a while, and she just kind of didn't get it right. And maybe the reason we don't notice in the older ones is maybe they did more takes back then, and maybe like they're all multi-millionaires with a lot to do these days.
Yeah.
They probably come in. It's like with Krusty in the recording studio.
Hey, I'm talking Krusty.
Yeah, he just comes in, he reads the cards, and he leaves. I mean, they're professionals. I don't want to sound like they're half-assing it, but maybe they're just not
They're not whole-assing it.
Yeah, or spending as much time as they used to.
Well, it's just we have no idea what did or didn't happen. She had a cold. Yeah, like maybe she had to re-record
Right,
something and it
probably
wasn't the normal plays. Who knows? But it did just stand out. It was kind of bizarre.
So if Nancy Cartwright is listening, let us know.
And if Stephen Moffat is listening,
You get that one for free, Stevie.
that's all yours.
That's
the
for
new
Sherlock.
Dalek paradigm.
Yeah.
Doctor Who, where'd he go? Homer is talking to Bart and trying to make him feel better because he just peed himself. And in the middle of this emotional talk, he's doing the wave like every other sentence.
Yeah.
The problem for me was that, like you said, it was an emotional talk. Like, Bart was very upset. He just pissed his pants. He was feeling like ashamed and embarrassed.
And Homer was genuinely felt sorry.
Homer felt sorry, yeah. But in the meantime, he's doing the wave.
Yeah.
Just not because anyone else is. He's doing it by himself.
He's trying to do it to avoid. He's trying to start the wave so he can avoid talking to Bart about
is that
it.
what you thought?
Is that what you
That's how I took it.
That's
Yeah.
not how
Well,
I
because
got
no
it.
one else was doing it, so he said, "I'm trying to start it."
But I didn't get it that he was trying to start it to kind of like take pressure off Bart or
No,
that he was going to address
I don't know.
I just thought it was because he is a jackass.
Yeah, it could be. I guess I don't know. I guess I assumed because he was having an awkward conversation that he kept doing it to try and get it going to avoid it. I don't know. Maybe I'm
it
wrong.
seemed like he was doing it during the conversation. Like he's like talking to Bart while he's getting up and doing this wave. And I thought, oh, that's kind of funny. He's still doing the wave while he's having this heart-to-heart with Bart. And then when they show that he's trying to start a wave while he's having a heart-to-heart
that makes
with
him a
Bart,
jerk ass.
That makes him a
Whereas
jerk
if the
ass.
wave's already happening, that's why even though
Then he's just dumb.
Even though it's a smarter, technically, it's like a more involved joke. If there's a reveal. Actually, he's trying to start the. Even though that's technically a more complicated joke and usually a funnier joke.
Yeah.
It would have in this instance it would have been funnier if it was just him doing the wave because A, it doesn't make him a jerk ass because he's just doing the wave, and B, then they wouldn't have that awkward. They did like an awkward close up from the side profile shot, because they don't want to reveal
But even
that
then,
nobody
you could
else
tell
is doing it.
they had somebody's legs behind him. You could tell, and you could tell by the audio that there was nobody doing the wave.
Right.
So it was,
And
then they had
the awkward
Marge
framing gives you tips you off.
Yeah, and then they had Marge saying you don't need to do the wave, and then he points out that he's trying to start it and no one else is doing it. It was just kind of a
And then it
was
was
a
the
long
act
way
break,
to go for a
Whereas
joke.
if it was him doing the wave with everybody else, it could have been a wide shot, straight on, and then it would have been funny because he is trying to have this heartfelt conversation, and it would visually be funny to see him doing the wave with everybody. Like the wave is coming by while he's like, "Don't feel, it's okay, Bart. Everybody, whoa!"
Yeah.
Like that would have. It's a less complicated joke. It's an easier joke, but it's funnier. It works.
Yeah. Well, and they still could have had Marge reprimand him.
Yeah.
And he could have just said, "Oh, I got caught."
Or maybe she gets into it
or she just or she just reprimands him and then we're out.
Yeah, or if she reprimands him and somebody goes da 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 da, and she has to say charge. She has she has her own thing. She doesn't like the wave.
It was just a little. It was a little long winded. It didn't really. It made the joke not land quite as well. I don't know.
So Bart pees himself, and apparently it's a big deal, even though it eventually has nothing to do with the rest of the episode. But it's on the news at the beginning of the next act. And I do like the idea, especially that they only touch on it and never go back again. I like that idea that it might be starting World War III, and it's like only in the background.
Yeah.
I like the retractable roof.
Yeah, I like
that they retracted the roof. I like that the Russians. Yeah, the Russians saw it, and then a flotilla was coming into New York, and then he just turns off the TV.
Yeah,
I was like, that's good.
So
that's
if it was in the foreground, we probably would be shitting on it. But the idea that Bart peeing himself may have inadvertently led to World War III with Russia and the United States, it's kind of great that it's in the background and that they turn it off in the middle of the joke.
And I like the title card, Whiz Kid.
Yeah,
It was also good.
Actually, there was one scene where the pee thing kind of was still going on when Bart is teleconferencing with Jimbo and Kearney.
Oh, yeah.
What did you guys think of this? I'm positive. I know I just asked you a question, then I'm starting to answer it myself, but bear with me. I'm pretty sure they just had that scene so they could have Kearney make that great European joke.
Oh, yeah. Hands down. That's exactly why the only reason that joke.
When I said great, it was sarcastic.
Yeah. I
mean, I'm guessing it didn't work for either of you also.
No, it was...
I
didn't mind the jokes. I didn't mind the idea that Bart is seeing videos that people are sending. I think they wanted to do the attempted fist bump, which didn't really work.
Fine.
It didn't really work anyway because it's just nothing. None of it like. It was all kind of like
together.
whatever.
Yeah,
it would have been fine if it was just a really fast paced, like people sending him messages, video messages or something. But But then it's
this
the teleconference.
It was like Bart Skyping with Jimbo and Purdy. Why would he even talk to them?
Why did I agree to moderate this conference?
Right, that's the kind of like joke answer they give to why this is happening.
And then it's like oh, that's the joke because it's nonsense, but it doesn't. I don't.
It also dates
itself. I don't get it.
And it also it's a weak joke made weaker because it dates itself, because that's not really a thing. Like most people don't Skype like that, at least in social settings. I guess unless that is a joke that they're having a bully conference. I don't know. But it's just
I don't know.
It raises too many questions.
Even that would have been a better
for a joke. I shouldn't have. Says, "Oh, European all the time," or whatever it was.
I mean, even if it had been like a bully conference, like. For all the bullies in Springfield Elementary, they do like a monthly thing. And he was like, "Oh, why did I think it was a good idea to come?" Like, this was.
It could have just been in person. Why did they even need to be in a conference? Like, Kearney could have just been like, "I came back from a European vacation, but Bart, you're a peeing all the time."
Yeah,
like, it's the same joke with him there. Like, why did he have to be in France making this joke?
And the biggest problem is, if this episode turned out to be how does Bart recover from having this horrible, humiliating experience in front of everybody, if the episode was about that, the scene would make much more sense. But the episode is, why does Homer strangle Bart, and what can we do about that? So this scene has nothing. Like it's not advancing the plot forward unless you can. I guess you're arguing, oh man, Bart's really taking it hard. Maybe you should go to parenting classes, which is really a stretch.
But they don't
make
see
that connection. Yeah, but that actually would have been good.
Homer doesn't see him upset.
Right.
Like it wasn't like this is happening. He's getting like made fun of on the internet, and Homer walks by and sees Bart upset.
Yeah.
Or Marge walks by and sees Bart upset, and then says like, Homer, you need to go to this.
Maybe I missed something. I don't know. So the inciting incident is Bart pees himself in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Why does Homer go to parenting?
Because he's insensitive about.
Marge basically just tells him to. That's the reason. It would have been much stronger if, like Brice said, Homer actually saw the repercussions that it had on Bart's life.
Marge saw it, and Homer didn't care.
What did he do wrong? He didn't listen to Bart when Bart said stop tickling him? That's it? That's why he has to go to parenting classes?
He didn't listen to Bart.
That's a good point.
He didn't. Afterwards, when Bart was upset, he didn't
care.
Help. He didn't seem to care. He was more interested in trying to start the wave. And C, when Marge brought it up, clearly, like, they're watching the television. It's a big deal. And she's like, oh, it's a big deal. And he's like, it'll be fine.
I feel like you're both right. Like, Brice is bringing up a rationalization that was not in the episode, I don't think.
No, like, well, I felt it, but I just didn't feel like it was a particularly good.
I guess.
It wasn't.
Even if we pretend the strangling has never happened before, Homer's never strangled Bart. Homer's done so much worse parenting that would warrant him going to classes over this. It's such a weak, nonsensical inciting incident.
Yeah, we just need to get him to
the strangling would have been a stronger inciting incident.
It would have made 100%.
Or Homer just doing something like, I don't know, much worse or handling it a lot worse or making fun of Bart afterwards for being upset.
Homer caught it on tape. It wasn't even on a football game, and he's the one that posts it.
That would have been good.
Homer was actually trying to make him feel better. I mean, he was doing the wave, but he actually was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He genuinely felt bad.
Right.
Yeah, it was. I feel like those were the justifications they were trying for. They didn't really land. Nothing really.
See, this episode had too many of that. There were too many things where you had to make that logical leap and be like, oh, they're justifying it through this. The plot didn't really go from A to B to C. It was kind of just all over the place, this winding road, loosely about strangling Bart.
Yeah. That's a good. Was that a pun? Loosely strangled.
It was not, but there you go.
I mean, while I was watching it, it didn't. Particularly, I don't think I bumped on the fact that, he was being told to go to therapy to be a better dad. I got that Marge was concerned, but looking back, I'm kind of like, well, I guess it didn't really earn it.
Here's another weird thing. Like, if you had done Homer strangles Bart in public, and that's the reason why he has to go, that sidesteps all of this stuff where, like, Paul Rudd has to find out. Like, just send him to a therapist who's immediately off the bat going to stop him from strangling Bart. Like, there's too many, like, points in between.
I assume that they wanted to have the reaction that Paul Rudd had, where he's like, "Wait, what? You sprint?"
So then Paul Rudd is the one who sees the video and then comes after Homer and says, "I want to work with you because something like that."
Yeah, or I guess it doesn't matter if Paul Rudd can still have that reaction when he comes in and he's like, well, it's not a big deal. I did this. And Paul Rudd's like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
All right.
That's not.
This brings up another big thing I want to talk
There's
about.
a lot of big things in this episode.
This one is Paul Rudd's performance in general.
Okay.
So Paul Rudd plays Dr. Xander, this young, good-looking, Paul Rudd type.
Yeah. We all like Paul Rudd, like off the bat, right?
Yeah.
Is that safe to say?
I like Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I like Paul Rudd.
Well, I'm a big Paul Rudd fan, and I thought he was great in this episode.
Really?
Yes, I thought he played a, what did I write? A douchey indignance very well, and that was kind of his through line throughout the episode.
I just thought he was really boring. I thought he brought nothing to it. I mean, I guess he sort of brought his own douchey personality.
I'll give you this. He's not acting very much. He's playing, the Paul Rudd type.
Yeah, I don't know. None of his lines were... there's a couple of times where it's like, oh... This is funny because it's Paul Rudd saying, Paul Rudd is making these lines work. He's doing a good job delivering it.
He's a good comedic actor.
Yeah, exactly. And that was when he's strangling Bart. He goes, oh, it's like oak. Like, that was a Paul Rudd line. Like, that I could see, that's like the type of line a Paul Rudd character would say. I feel like 90% of his performance wasn't that. It was just kind of exposition and, which... you get in characters, but he didn't make it fun. He didn't Paul Ruddify his, I don't know. I just thought it was a really bland performance.
I don't disagree.
I don't agree.
I don't disagree.
I was a big
You
fan.
don't agree, you don't disagree.
I
was a big fan of the Rudd.
I thought he was fine. I didn't particularly think it... I didn't think he brought anything special. I didn't think it was...
Well, I didn't think it was he was laugh out loud funny or he was
Which is
a great character I want to see back.
He's one of the funniest comedic actors out there.
I agree.
You'd think he'd have a more him
I
on The
thought
Simpsons
he made a nothing character into something. Maybe not like the greatest thing, but he made nothing into something.
I think he made a something character into nothing.
Whoa.
Wow.
We will step out to the bus stop and have words, sir.
It's like Pacquiao Mayweather in here.
Yeah, it's like Pacquiao Mayweather.
So then he's Dr. Xander, and there's a room full of other dads, which I thought was going to be a centerpiece for the episode, and we'd be seeing more of these guys. It was Apu, I think Kirk Van Houten, maybe?
I don't even remember. There was that Gerald
So that's what I was going to say.
Yeah,
so there was a guy who looked like a much younger version of Martin's dad. And then there was one guy, Gerald, who immediately stands out because he's not one of the main Springfielders. And it's like, why is he here? And it turns out it was all for a joke. What?
Well, it was kind of another stand-up-ish joke because he says Monday I left work early to go watch Derek's baseball game and his smile made everything worth it. And then Tuesday I got fired because I lost $1 million account because I left work early on Monday.
Yeah.
That's a funny joke, but it was also just shoehorned into this scene where it sort of made sense.
I think it made sense. It was a fatherhood joke, and it was the idea of some things are more important than work. You never get these moments because he said his smile was worth $1 million, and then on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I got fired because I lost $1 million account because I left work early. Which I don't know, it landed. For
and
me,
I was kind of wondering why they didn't use another Springfielder until the punchline came in, and it's like I guess there's no other millionaire who could say that kind of line, but. I don't know. It's just kind of
the
weird.
Oil tycoon.
Yeah, Martin's dad actually could have done it, but whatever.
Actually, yeah.
Martin doesn't play baseball though.
Yeah. My son's debate team. Yeah. And the smile on his face.
But yeah, they don't really do anything with this whole support group. It really didn't have to, except for that one joke. It didn't even have to be a support group. Except I guess they're all kind of aghast with Paul Rudd that Homer, the big reveal that Homer strangles Bart. Yeah, so Paul Rudd's disgusted. We've talked about this. Paul Rudd's disgusted by it.
There was an interesting animation thing where Homer's like, I don't know, I guess strangling was just always in my life. And it's a funny-ish flashback where he flashes back to him and Grandpa when Homer was a kid, and you expect Grandpa to choke him, but instead Homer strangles him.
I like that.
I liked that, but did you notice the flashback was in like a thought balloon? Like they didn't actually cut to it. It was still in the room, just in a like Homer's thought balloon. I've never seen that on The Simpsons before.
They've done thought balloons like that before.
Well, they've never done. They usually do.
A flashback like that is usually just like a flashback. Like they'll just cut to 40 years ago.
Yeah. So it's the first time we've seen a flashback scene in a thought bubble, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I remember So doesn't somebody get crushed in the thought bubble? That might be a post-classic episode. It's like Lenny or Carl, and the thought bubble closes and strangles them.
Well, I wonder if that's a technique animators would use to make something ridiculous seem less real. I wonder how that would have played for everybody had it been just a regular flashback and you were like, wait, so that happened? Like, that was the past? And when it's in his memory,
Right.
it almost makes it more cartoony in that way that in the way that strangling is funny in the cartoon.
In the cartoon setting.
Homer, meet Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Dr. Xander and I played pickup basketball on the weekend. And when he told me what you do to your son, I was so disturbed, I only scored 172 points.
I had 86 assists.
So then the class ends because Paul Rudd's so disgusted by the strangling.
Oh, God.
So then Homer goes
Yeah.
to somebody. He goes, "Who do you have next period?"
Awful.
Joke wasn't funny. Angry whisper wasn't funny.
Over-explainy, angry, but not really angry.
It's not really
whisper.
explaining. Just over whisper.
The over-whisper.
Boy,
Yeah, it was just-
just not good.
This one wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was.
The idea
No,
that he thinks he's in class because he's a huge idiot.
I think if he had said it not in that horrible voice, I would have actually liked it a little bit better.
Yeah, why is he whispering?
Yeah, why is it? Why do you have next period?
Like if they were
Where
actually
do you take the drugs, Falcone?
I'm not wearing all your pants.
swear to me.
And that's been our Batman theater.
Don't forget to wear a helmet.
Where are the drugs? Where are the drugs, Falcone?
God, it works on so many levels.
I'm gonna catch you.
It works on so
I'm
many
gonna
levels.
catch you.
Hockey pants, hockey pants.
Boy,
Every movie could really be distilled
distilled into Frere Jacques. Yeah, works on so many levels. That's finally got that. I was trying to say that
This is it. This
three
is our new
times. I kept
podcast.
saying levers.
Frere Jacquing the movies. That's obviously the title of the episode, Frere Jacquing.
I am Paul Rudd, I am Paul Rudd, I'm Ant-Man, Ant-Man small, Ant-Man small, Giant Man big, Giant Man big.
What has happened?
Oh boy. Yeah, it was just it didn't need it didn't
Age of Ultron, Age of Ultron, cut the strings, I'ma take it over, Tony Stark, you really suck.
Terminator, Genesis, first you had to save me, now I'm gonna save you. Sarah Connor is from Game of Thrones.
Alright, so this is for the
Okay.
deleted scenes, I'm guessing.
No, this is gonna be the only part that stays in the podcast.
Everything else is
Everything
deleted
else is
scenes.
cut.
You guys should you should do a whole podcast in the format of like your discussion.
Frere Jacquing.
Angry whisper, not funny.
We don't like the gay jokes. Stand up humor.
Pop, pop, pop.
Cut all this.
Dalek voice. And now it's full circle.
There we go. Yeah, the whisper was stupid. It wasn't funny, and it didn't need to be a whisper. It was like, oh, let's have Homer whisper. Let's do the Homer whisper joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do that all the time.
Did you guys notice in the background during that scene, it said agoraphobics meeting canceled again.
Yeah.
Oh no, I
Yeah,
didn't see
I
that.
didn't see that.
You know, it's nice to have some
That's a good-
background.
that's a good sign, Gabe.
Yeah, a little easy.
It's good.
It's not nearly as funny as their agoraphobic joke they had when Homer was in the mental hospital. He's like, I couldn't leave the house.
Oh, yeah. Was the door locked? Did you have your pants on?
Like, that's one of my all-time favorite scenes. So, this is actually, I guess, the biggest theme of this episode, of criticizing this episode, is way too many beats to get from point A to point B.
Yeah.
That seems to be the problem with the structure.
I definitely think so.
And that's with this, why do they have this whole group therapy session when it turns out the episode is primarily this relationship between Homer and Paul Rudd's character.
Right.
So why even bother with this whole first scene? It should have he went straight to a therapist.
I know, I agree with you.
Why do the group therapy at all?
Just so you can get that joke in about Derek and the $1 million account.
And the
Gerald.
Gerald.
and the over
Get it
whisper.
right. Yeah.
Derek
the whisper, yeah.
Derek was Gerald's son.
Well, so then they have him come in by himself.
Right,
And
so Homer
Paul
comes in by
Rudd
himself,
turns around
yeah.
his chair,
That's
and
how
Homer
serious it
gasps.
Yeah,
Oh,
classic
boy.
post-classic Simpsons joke where he does something mundane and they point it out and then they make a big
Right.
deal of it.
Yeah. And then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shows
So
up.
let's talk about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
So
Let's-
Paul
let's-
Rudd brings in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to be his helper. He's gonna dress up Kareem Abdul-Jabbar like Homer, dress up Homer like Bart, and have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar strangle Homer.
Yeah, Therapy 101. They teach you that in the first day.
Of course, the old Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The idea of that, Homer being strangled and kind of like the aversion therapy to the strangling, I think that was a good idea. I don't know why it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, it was. I liked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar,
Yeah.
and I liked all the jokes surrounding Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I didn't not like that it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It was just
It was just this weird
very.
thing.
Like
why?
Like you would have expected him to have something to do with basketball in the show.
I mean, they say, "Oh, Paul Rudd plays pickup basketball with him," and that's how they know
well,
each other.
they give you a reason, but it's still
it was,
nonsense.
No, it's not a
It
good
was a
reason.
terrible reason.
I guess it's just because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is bigger than Homer.
That's
Yeah.
what I. That's what
Yeah,
I
I
would
guess
have
alluded to.
That's what I
that.
thought because he was able to pick him up and strangle.
Right.
He had the same proportions as Homer does to Bart. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Okay.
If that's what it was, that kind of works for
And
me.
I guess there's other taller, bigger people you could use, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a comedic actor. He does.
Oh, yeah.
He did Airplane. He's been on Colbert Report. So he is somebody who's big and can deliver a joke.
Yeah, and he was good. He
and he
He was
great,
good,
Yeah.
yeah.
At some point, Paul Rudd tries to get him angrier so that he could strangle Homer better, and he says, "What? Oh, that's right. The janitor, like the Charles Bronson type, walks in, and he's a janitor. He's just like, just watering the plants." And he goes, "Hey, Kareem, what do you think about today's selfish players?" And Kareem just that was kind of drawn out. I don't know. I
felt
know
like the whole
think
strangling
about
thing
that.
was a little one note.
Yeah.
It was just kind of it went on for a while because
They did a whole montage of it too.
And granted, you needed to show that he's being strangled.
Yeah.
They're doing it long enough that there's going to be an effect.
Right.
But it just felt like there was no real variation
They didn't do
to
much.
it.
Yeah, they didn't do much with it.
They had the other players there to strangle.
Right, and part of the montage, there's a bench of basketball players, and just Kareem Abdul-Jabbar subs out, and the new guy comes in.
It just wasn't.
It was
kind of didn't do anything with it.
Why are we doing this?
Yeah, there should have been more gags and funnier gags to diversify.
Like, I get if it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar because he's bigger than Homer, that's one thing. If it's because he's a basketball player and that's why they had other basketball players come in, that doesn't.
I'm trying to think
work.
of when they spanked Flanders as a child.
Yeah.
It wasn't aversion therapy, but it was a similar.
Spankological protocol.
Yeah, exactly. So. That was done very funny in that they showed the changing of the seasons and it's all one frame.
That was actually the initial thing I went back to, and you just reminded me that that's what it's from.
Yeah,
was the changing the seasons, but that was the first thing in my head was like, oh, they could have just done some time thing where he's and then Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is just strangling him, and it keeps showing the doctor Paul Rudd doing different things that's going on, and the seasons are like the seasons thing stood out in my mind, and that's why.
Yeah.
Like I was gonna say, they could show Kareem Abdul-Jabbar doing other things, like doing, he does charities, he does his jazz thing. He's on Celebrity Jeopardy all the time. It would have been funny if he's on Celebrity Jeopardy, like strangling him and buzzing in and getting, that might be a little too inside Celebrity Jeopardy, but.
Inside Jeopardy.
But you're right. It just shouldn't have been the spankological protocol, but they should have taken a cue from it.
Right. I mean, instead they did the montage, which was set to Alice Cooper's "No More Mr. Nice Guy." But I don't totally get why they picked that song. Like, Homer wasn't.
I guess
a nice
Kareem
guy.
Abdul-Jabbar is a nice guy.
Yeah, because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is a nice guy. I don't know.
It's a poor choice.
Because something bad was happening.
I guess.
I don't know. I think we just all agree that the joke didn't really play out very well. It wasn't funny.
They should have played
I
Frere.
think they really should have.
I think that's what we all agree.
Strangle Homer.
L.A. Lakers.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. It didn't work. All right, cut this.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yep. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
That's the. Oh, we have our episode.
That's a new character.
No.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
It's me.
No.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
No, it's a thing. Why can't I talk anymore?
Hey guys, it's me.
That's all he does. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
He just says that's me. So the aversion therapy works, and now Homer can't strangle Bart because he actually, he gets these feelings, and he actually literally hallucinates seeing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And the first time he does it, it's cool animation.
Yeah, I agree.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar comes out of him almost like a fisheye lens, distorted proportions, and it reminded me 100% of the exact same scene. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in The Stand. if the 1994 miniseries based on the Stephen King book,
the monster.
and
creature, right?
if I don't think I've ever said this in the show, Stand is one of my favorite books and movies, and it's
You definitely have said this on the show. We had a long conversation about how great the Stand miniseries was.
Well, anyway,
That's true. Yeah, you did. I remember that now.
So there's a.
It's still great. I think it's on Netflix.
It's amazing. You
the
should
book
watch
is phenomenal.
It's definitely like it's the reason I think I like any post-apocalyptic fiction to this day.
Yeah.
But there's a scene in the first hour and a half, the first section of the movie, where Larry is walking through the streets of New York, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar plays like a doomsayer, like he's ringing a bell,
Yeah, like
and he
a
wears a
street
sandwich
preacher.
board. Yeah, and he's just like, like the end is nigh, the world's coming, and then he just grabs Larry, and it's the exact same shot that's in The Simpsons, where he just turns it, and like it's a fisheye lens on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and he just goes, "He's coming for you, Larry."
Oh, yeah.
And like it was weird to see. It like. I don't think anybody else would actually make that connection, but it was,
Right.
and I don't think
I didn't make it, and I also
I don't think it was.
miniseries.
Yeah, I don't think it was intentional, but it was funny to
It
see.
might have been intentional. It's totally reasonable to think it's intentional if it's that much of a match and it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, he doesn't have that many acting credits. It could conceivably be
Maybe,
something.
but yeah. So it just he's coming for you, Larry.
Intentional or not, I agree.
Yeah.
It did look.
So
like
I thought that was cool. Anything the Stand related, I appreciate.
Yeah. The vodka and the juice.
Yes,
what everybody think of that? I thought that was
talk
good.
about that.
It was weird because it was vodka. If it had been beer, I think for some
when does
reason it
Homer-
would have
We
been.
very, very rarely see Homer drink hard liquor. It's
Yeah.
always beer, and there was just something about. I don't
It
know.
felt sadder.
Yeah, him
like-
because he's pouring it into his orange juice that he was already drinking, and then when he takes a drink, he's like, that feels like the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
it's like what you're saying. How sometimes it's not. Once it becomes too real, it's not funny. Like Frank Grimes or strangling. Homer's alcohol problem is almost
Yes.
something you don't want to treat. I mean,
Well-
even in Duffless, the classic episode, that treats his problem realistically.
seriously, yeah.
But it also this is almost treating it real, but also making light of it. Like we're supposed to laugh.
I think the difference is this is mocking him for being an alcoholic,
Right.
as opposed to it's just like
It's not sympathetic or.
yeah, or just Homer being like an oaf and like it's funny, like when he's drunk he does this or he likes to drink a beer. This is
Yeah.
like he needs vodka in the morning to get to normal.
Well, I would have just thought that he would have drank a beer and done
Yeah.
like a self-satisfied and you'd be like, oh geez, Homer. You roll your eyes, and this was just like, ooh.
Yeah, so Homer has this dream sequence where he envisions himself in 3 different stories of like parents who were abusive to their kids.
Right.
But Bart is now the parent and Homer is the kid. You have the like Joe Jackson with the Jackson 5.
Which I thought was
That
landed
fine.
pretty well, and it was quick. It was really fast.
Yeah, I like the visual. It was kind of funny that Homer was all of the Jacksons and
Yes.
Bart was Joe Jackson.
And
Yes.
it was all 3 of them play with proportions in a weird surrealistic way.
Yes.
And it was I especially like the Michael Jackson Homer, like the smallest of the
Yeah.
Jackson 5. It was a funny look. Yeah, all 3 movies. It was that was probably my most favorite part of the entire sequence was this weird proportion thing they were doing where Bart was like bigger.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The next one, I didn't know what it was.
Great Santini.
I didn't know what it was a parody of. Yeah, I looked it up. It's the Great Santini, which I've never seen, so I don't know if it was a
It's
good parody.
a big scene from the Great Santini.
Okay.
where
I've
he's
seen the
being a
Great
jerk.
Baldini, which was season 1 episode of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I've
where
seen that one too.
Michelangelo teams up with a magician. Yeah, named the Great Baldini.
Yeah.
Wow, I don't remember that
So
one.
we should obviously do a Ninja Turtles podcast.
I remember
Yeah.
it because it was one of the only Ninja Turtle episodes that was on a VHS completely by itself. It was like
That was one of the ones that they gave out at
Was
Burger
it Pizza
King.
Hut?
Oh, that's
Burger King.
why
I
I
had
it.
Sky Turtles.
Oh, yeah,
the
Sky
same,
Turtles
the
is
same
a
way,
great one.
but that's not interesting to anyone.
No.
The gravity.
Yeah.
It's a great episode.
So this great Santini thing. He says like
Great
I'm the Great
Santini.
Simpsini.
Yeah, it went
was
on. I
whatever.
mean, I when it cut to that, I was like, oh, I'm liking this because I was like, that's a really perfect jerk dad example. It's super classic, really great.
that was
and
the
then-
original title of the Great Santini.
Right.
It was Jerk
Jerk
Dad.
Dad.
Yeah,
Would have done better.
Ghost Dad was supposed to be a follow-up sequel to that.
They kill off Jerk Dad at the
Right.
end.
If you've watched The Great Santini, it's gonna work. No, it kept going for too. Like all I really needed was the hitting with the basketball. I don't know. It just kept going for a little too long, and then it moved into Precious.
Then
and
it moved
that
into
was
Precious, which
based on the
that
novel
one,
Push by Sapphire.
right? That one felt like it went too long. I haven't
Yeah,
seen
that
Precious
went
either,
way
but it
too
went
long.
very long. And
I didn't like when he got on the boat. There was a sign that said "Weight limit 1 Precious."
Yeah, I was like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, we get it.
That ended with a very mean joke. I think you guys know what I'm talking about. They like Bart as Monique, the mother, I guess, in Precious.
Yeah.
Said to Homer as I can't think of her name, Gabourey Sidibe, yeah, who played Precious in the movie. So Bart says to Homer, playing that character, like, "You're never gonna have another acting role unless George Lucas needs a second Death Star."
Yeah.
That is horrible because it's not a joke about Precious. It is a joke about the actress who played Precious for no reason.
And like
the fat
joke off just calling her fat is mean spirited, but I think it's the worst part is just the fact saying you only got this one role because we needed a really fat person, and you're not going to find another role because like having a very fat character is like not you can't have standard Hollywood roles, not even standard. You can't even have like character actor roles. You're too fat.
Well, I mean, I assume that when they were doing it, they kind of were like, oh, because it's making fun of Homer for being fat, but it's not.
It's
like
not,
you
though.
were,
You're
straight up saying she's Precious and
pretty much
Gabourey
saying,
Sidibe.
enjoy your 15 minutes because it's kind of a fluke that you're famous right now.
It's just why take Gabourey Sidibe down a peg?
Good job, Simpsons writers, biting social commentary there.
You body shamed that poor woman.
It didn't work. It didn't work for me. I thought Great Santini worked. The Jackson 5 worked. That maybe could have worked, but then it just kept going, and he's like running down the street, eating chicken, getting on a boat. And,
it was just.
I mean,
why do you need all these beats from Precious? Like,
it got surreal, but it didn't need to keep being Precious. As soon as he got out of that, it could have just been Homer getting on a boat and then the TV with Bart like there's no
that's true.
It didn't need to. I like the fact that it got surreal, like a dream, but.
And the animation was, like I say, was the best part. It was really well done.
It was good. It was good.
But you're right. The rest of it really fell flat for me. And it seemed like it was supposed to be a very important scene to the story.
Right.
How could two people from the same family need therapy? Because Bart's going to go. That was a funny joke.
Yeah, that was funny. So Marge goes to find Paul Rudd because she wants him to help with Homer because Homer's now having, like, this I don't know how you say it. Like,
complex.
He developed a complex about strangling Bart. So she goes to find Paul Rudd, and he has gone out of business because the economy took a hit.
Yeah, that was out of nowhere.
And it was definitely out of nowhere. And he's like living in this commune with like other homeless people.
Other luxury professionals.
Right. They call them luxury professionals. Which
I like that. I like the idea that if you like
I like the idea that like with wedding planners and like sommeliers were there, and I think it was like aromatherapists.
That's a fun little shantytown to have.
That's a funny idea, but are they saying that therapists and like therapy is like a luxury?
Again, that's why it would have been funny if he was a sports.
In a way, it is.
Yeah. I mean, it is, but
unfortunately unfortunately for our culture. Here. Unfortunately for our society, mental health is a luxury.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. But he is technically a doctor, and it is weird to put him in the same group as sommeliers and wedding planners.
I thought that was an odd.
That's a good point. I didn't even think of
that.
An
odd pot shot to take.
My beef was just that there was nothing particularly funny about it. Like they did show the aromatherapist for a second, but they weren't doing anything. I mean,
there was no.
I wanted to see like
joke,
3 cuts of all these kinds of people like doing their nonsense work,
like the waiter with the glass mushrooms.
Yes, or like a wedding planner planning like a wedding for like two rabbits, or you know, like I wanted to see 3 quick cuts and then be done with the joke.
Yeah,
and they didn't do it.
Although I did like the sommelier zombies. If only I didn't quite like it. I just liked the lines that they were saying, like "I drink this wine at home."
Yeah,
but it wasn't worth. I did love. It was probably my favorite line and favorite Paul Rudd delivery of the episode was where he goes, one of the most common complaints about therapy. It's too effective.
Yeah. That was really good.
and that's a great line
and it was good
on
delivery.
The page. And then that's something that Paul Rudd's delivery specifically, that it's good. That's a good guess is when the line is better for it being said by that specific person.
Paul Rudd.
And I think 90% of Paul Rudd's delivery wasn't that. That's bland. Paul Bland.
Yeah.
Paul Blart.
And the bland is spelled with 2 D's.
Oh, I see.
So then they go through the therapy. The cactus stuff was...
Well, there's a weird scene where... So Homer and Bart go out into the desert with Paul Rudd's character because he's going to, like, teach them how to bond, I guess.
Which should have been the whole episode.
It should have been the whole episode, but Bart, like, sticks a snake down Homer's pants, and then Paul Rudd goes to grab it, and he's like, that's not the snake. So Paul Rudd just grabbed Homer's dick That happened in this episode.
Yeah, at least they didn't call it a Wang.
Yeah,
We've been
that's
missing,
true.
apparently, unless they did, I don't know. We've been missing all our Wang references.
Official
lately.
Lee Wang watchers, someone, they're out there. Let us know.
You get it. Whatever.
Wang watchers. Wang.
No, I was doing a much more obscure
Yeah, all right.
Fortune commercial reference.
So that was the thing. Homer gets blindfolded, and Bart's supposed to walk him through this field of cactuses, or cacti as they are actually called. And it was just painful because Bart tells him to walk into all the cactuses, which you expect.
Yeah,
Cacti.
and then it just went on.
And then just keeps going on.
Just
It
keeps
doesn't-
going
It didn't
on.
get any funnier.
Right. It's not like a rake situation where it
And
builds.
a bad accounting. I don't know.
Or
It didn't-
a Sideshow Bob going through a cactus patch situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
And then we cut away to the B story,
Oh, yeah.
which was
epic
good.
story.
Story.
I thought it was funny. I laughed at all the stuff they were doing.
It was all right. It was
It
another
was-
one of those Marge and Lisa have to do something because Bart and Homer are away. And if maybe it was a meta parody on that, but I don't think it was. So it's just it's one of those Marge and Lisa have to do something. But
Right.
so this
Marge
time,
is like Homer and Bart are bonding, so we should bond too. I rented 4 sad horse movies, and I forget what they were. It was like Black Eyed Beauty or something.
yeah,
or
broken
like,
leg or something.
yeah, and then
One of them was, what was the Lone Ranger's horse?
Oh, it was
Goodbye,
Silver.
Silver.
Goodbye,
Silver,
And
yeah.
he's like pointing the gun at.
yeah.
And then the fourth one.
And then the fourth one was like, oh, it's so sad I can't even say the title. And she shows it to Lisa, and Lisa starts crying. I don't know, it was fine. And then they cut to a scene from one of the horse movies.
Yeah, I like the fourth. The title is so sad. I really don't. Because the entire thing was one scene, two back-to-back scenes, one sequence. It
felt very out of place.
It's the epitome of shoehorned in.
Yes.
Pop, pop, pop. So I didn't like it. Just even if the individual jokes are in it, I liked. It's just really, it had no place being in this episode. It was, it's just the structure in this episode was so poor. I mean, you know what I was thinking during the cactus patch, where it's like, all right, now the episode's a completely different story. Now it's about Paul Rudd trying to get Homer and his son to fix their relationship, which is what they should have done from the beginning. And I was thinking about how that was the basis of several episodes, but including the Soapbox Derby episode.
Yep.
And like that was an entire episode based on how do you get Bart and Homer to bond, and it's just like I was just thinking about how it's so much better to have this one episode. Like this one episode did this entire story so well, and then they're just doing this weird tacked on third act.
Yeah.
It was a mess. This whole structure was a mess.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
So it ends. The final trial is Homer has to hang himself from a tree, which
Yeah,
is
that
also
was-
like a kind of a dark thing to see.
And also because Bart lets him just hang for like a long time.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about that. So he's texting. So Bart's texting instead of saving Homer from strangling, and this is probably I think this might be the first Moe prank phone call we've seen in a post-classic episode that we've covered on this show.
Yes.
And it's a text prank. He pranked. I actually like the idea.
Yes,
I
I did
completely
too.
agree with you.
Yeah.
I
It's
like the idea.
oh, that's smart. You know, especially in 2000, maybe 2011, maybe a little earlier would have been better. But like, you know, when texting had finally become a thing, the idea of prank texting Moe instead of calling him, and I do like that when Moe texts back, he's, you know, especially because my phone's broken and I'm using an old phone now. I'm completely related. I can completely relate to. It's like, oh man, I've got to change this whole word now, and you know, the letter's wrong, and so I did like that, but. What I didn't like was the actual prank. He just says, "Hey guys, look at this. It says I am a wiener," or something like that.
I got a text from I am a wiener.
Yeah.
I guess I thought it was kind of funny that even written down, he still doesn't
He
get.
still fucks it up.
He still doesn't get that it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
because the whole thing was huge ass. Like
Right.
you look at, you know.
But that's what I liked about those Moe pranks is they always found a very funny way for Moe to set himself up.
Yes.
Where he's just like,
Yeah.
I'm looking for a huge, you know, is there a huge, whatever there was. I'm looking for a man to hug and kiss.
Right.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
you're right,
He
you're
always
right.
set it up in a funny way, whereas this time he didn't. He was just like, hey, look at this.
I can
am
prove
a-
I got
am
a text.
wiener.
Yeah.
Like, what?
And it's like you're like, so wait, you got a text from a guy who wrote his name as I am a wiener? Like I don't get what
Yeah,
you.
it didn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't
Why
make
is
any
he
sense.
showing it? Yeah.
And then Bart replies, usually in the classic beat by beat prank phone call scene would be then Bart laughs on the phone and then
Right.
hangs up.
He
So
just-
this time he sends a bunch of smiley emojis.
Yeah, that didn't
which
work at all.
is kind of lame.
Yeah.
Lame. So yeah, so Homer's hanging from a tree.
and then
The idea is Bart's
Paul Rudd
supposed to
gets so
save him.
angry,
Right.
and then starts strangling Bart.
And
you're
we said this
I mean,
earlier.
we talked about that,
But that's a beat that makes sense. Paul Rudd should get so upset with Bart that finally he has to strangle him. And I guess it justifies Homer's strangling in that, look, it's Bart, you got to strangle him, he's a horrible person.
Right.
But it wasn't a strong, it was like, yeah, he let him walk in the cactuses, and then he texted him, and then he texted, and he didn't help Homer down from the tree. There really needed to be some kind of like big moment where Paul Rudd's character just has to strangle Bart. I mean, if you're doing the has to strangle Bart angle, which
and it would have been nice if Bart was doing something to Paul Rudd's character,
yeah,
to
well,
Dr. Xander.
maybe he's the one that made Paul Rudd lose his job instead of the economy.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, this episode could have been a lot better. It could have made a lot more sense.
It's just none of this stuff was particularly funny, and it was doing stuff to Homer, and Homer was already like the whipping boy to begin. Like,
yeah,
Homer was already just taking everything Bart threw at him, so it stopped after the first like two initial things of him mocking Homer.
Yeah,
all the stuff became not so funny because you're like, okay, so you're just ragging on a helpless Homer,
right?
And it's always more funny when Bart does stuff to Homer, and Homer's reaction is, "Why, you little,"
Yeah, exactly.
It's always more funny
That's
when Bart is doing something to a guy who can grab him, and
to an adult male who should know better, and Bart gets one over on him.
And this was, just, and it made Dr. Xander angry because he wasn't doing it. I didn't.
It's also weird. Like, Bart starts off this episode vulnerable, where he like pees his pants, and then he just like. He's not good through the rest of the episode.
Which is
he's like intentionally letting his father hang from a tree, and there's no like redemption or anything.
Bart peeing
That's just
himself,
how it ends.
Yeah, Bart peeing himself on camera in front of everybody is a good, strong, inciting incident. Just not for this story. That's a completely separate episode. Like this vulnerable Bart, which I think they did do, where Bart like loses. He loses a little league championship for his team in the first scene of an episode, and that breaks his self-esteem. Like they did something like that. But you can do an episode where Bart is really vulnerable and has lost his edge, or you can do this episode where now he has all the power. This episode was together. This was Web of Spider-Man. It was everywhere.
It really was. It really, really was. And at the end, they decide to sue Paul Rudd, and he says, "Oh, all I have is a tree." And then at the end, Homer and Bart are in his tree.
Yeah, they took his tree.
That was something, but that was not where I expected the episode to end.
By the end of it, it was so.
Yeah.
It was so.
If everything else was
I was so bored by the end that I was like,
I mean, remember, he lives in this tree because he lost his practice because of the economy.
Yeah, which has nothing to do with anything in the episode.
Let's see. Text message for I am a wiener. As you can all see, I am a wiener.
I see it, Mo.
Why, when I get a hold of you... oh, damn it, I typed an F and not a D. Delete. Oh, crap, I just donated $20 to Haiti.
Yeah, so, look, in general, I do like the idea of a Simpsons episode deconstructing strangling Bart. Mm-hmm. It's tricky because you have to end it in a status. You have to end it in a way where you can still get away with strangling Bart, or you just never strangle Bart again on the show. You kind of say, you know what, this is a new era. 25 years is a long time. Child abuse isn't funny anymore. The audience has progressed mentally in a way where we can't do this anymore. That's what you do that, or you keep doing it, whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
But this was just I like the idea of deconstructing it, but this was just a mess structurally. It was a mess story-wise. It wasn't funny. It was just shit.
Yeah.
I think they should have just ended with some reasoning that Bart and Homer still needed the strangling to bring them together, and they should have ended with Homer strangling Bart and the two of them giving each other like a loving glance.
Right. That would have worked. That would have worked for me.
Like a moment, nice, and then it goes right back to
yeah. Like that's their hug, and you're right. If they had that weird eye contact,
because it would have just been so ridiculous that we would have bought back into the completely. You would have been like, "That's the most fucked up."
That's
thing.
Really,
but it's cartoony and it's ridiculous. Yep. Sure, let's do it.
Totally that's really good. I think an even stronger way to end it would have been if they just sang Frere Jacquing, but justified his strangling, and just like, "I strangled Bart, but it's okay, it's okay." Yeah, help me out here, guys.
Gonna sue the doctor. Gonna sue the doctor.
Got his tree. Got his tree.
Yeah, see?
There we go.
There we go.
Save 22 minutes right
Done.
there.
That's the whole
Yep.
episode. I think that's all we have to say about this one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
put
That's
this to
it.
bed. So we're going to rank this episode. We do that on a 4-factor
They know the
test.
drill. It's the
All right.
30th episode.
Yeah, so we're going to look at the humor, the integrity, the production, the originality. The last two are ranked less than the first two. Let's do it. Let's put some time on the clock.
Beep, boop, beep.
Humor. The humor of this episode. Jack, what do you got?
0.5.
Bryce, what do you think?
Oh man, I mean, I'd go at least. What's it from?
It's 0 to 5.
It's 0 to 5. Okay, it is 0 to 5. Yeah.
2.5 is average. Anything above that is better. Anything below that is worse.
I'd give it like a. I mean, 1.5. I mean, it had some good. It started off decent. Like I laughed several. I was laughing, for a while.
Bryce, you're a fool. 0.5 is right.
Okay. Well, I said
Check.
1, so.
But thanks for being on the show.
Get the hell out of here, Bryce.
All
Get
right,
back
I'm
to the booth.
Closing the door.
Foley work by Brice. Whatever.
Did someone close the door?
The clock is ticking, people.
Is it too late for me to make
coming
an
for you,
appearance?
Larry? Yeah.
Okay, so the integrity of the episode. I mean, there was some jerk-ass Homer.
There was a little jerk-ass Homer, and there was a little
jerk-ass Bart.
There was
to
a
be
lot
honest
of
with you.
jerk-ass Bart,
Yeah.
actually.
But I don't think it was quite as egregious as some other episodes.
Dose. 2.
I'm gonna go 1.5 actually. What do you think, Bryce?
Yeah, 2.
2.
It didn't veer that far away from anything.
Yeah.
Nothing really bumped.
Production of this episode. We mentioned that Nancy Cartwright kind of dipped into her actual speaking voice for a little,
yeah.
so that kind of is a ding.
That was
I
a little
think.
iffy. There was some weird sound design choices, like with it was the couch gag, and then you also said with when he was
when he's tickling him for a while.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I did love the
visuals
the
were
visuals.
really good.
There were a lot of good
Yeah.
visuals. Yeah.
I would say 3.
I mean, I think I'm also gonna say 3 actually.
Yeah.
And even the hot air balloon. There's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
forgot
the hot air balloon
All
stuff
of the
was-
visuals were strong.
Yeah, see, by this
The
point,
visuals were
we
pretty
talked
good, yeah.
for like 5 hours
Yeah.
through the last like 2/3 to half of it, and we
Yeah.
forgot the first like
forgot
third
everything about
where we
it.
were like, oh, we like that joke, we like that joke, we
yeah.
like that joke.
I don't remember where I am anymore or how much time is on the clock. So let's get the originality of the episode.
Trim it all down.
This could have been a good plot, I think, but we've talked at length about how
the
we would
idea
have
of
tweaked it.
deconstructing it, yeah. But the structure, out of the 30 episodes we've covered so far, this might have been the
worst
most,
structure.
like just all, web of Spider-Man, just all over the place.
Yeah. Worse than Bonfire of the Manatees, even, which I
Yeah.
thought was just a train wreck.
0.5.
And
I'm
also going to give it
flirting with giving
0.5.
it a 0, to be honest.
I'm going to...
But I'll say 0.5.
All right, I'll say 0.5 too.
What about you,
Sure.
Bruce?
Yeah, 0.5 is probably.
It doesn't matter.
decent. I mean,
Grades don't
I know
count.
nobody's
None of
gonna
this
count me.
matters.
Who cares? It
It's all
don't
made
matter.
up, and the points don't matter.
Just say Smith and Jones.
Just pretend out of the screen. And so, time's up.
Okay, so we have crunched our numbers, and we have ranked this episode Love is a Many Strangled Thing. We're saying it is a worse episode than Battlestar Galactica, our very first episode, but a very slightly better episode
Yeah,
than
the
Large
number-
Marge.
It's pretty much
very,
tied,
very
Large Marge.
close.
We'll give Large Marge the edge on this.
Both not good episodes.
Or
That
no,
puts
we'll
it
give
in
this the
the
edge on it.
that puts it in the bottom 6 of the episodes
All right.
we watched.
That's
so
the bottom 20% because this is our 30th
right.
episode, and I know
Yeah.
maths.
That's very good. I'm trying to
The
figure out right
English
now if
version
you're
of
right.
math.
I was
Go
terrible
back
at
to
this.
the UK.
Whoa, crikey!
Oi, is someone here from Australia? No, you were doing British, and now I'm just doing my normal speaking
This
voice.
is my British accent.
No. That is it for this episode. Bryce, thank you so much for being
Thank
here
you
with
for
us.
putting up
Thanks
with
for
us.
having me.
For this 10-hour-long recording session. If you have a terrible Simpsons episode you'd like to suggest, as we mentioned at the top of the show many hours ago, you can do that on our website. It's weepodcast.com, weepodcast.com.
Use Dan's fancy web form.
Use the fancy
It's
web form.
Very effective.
Click through our Amazon banners. We get a little piece of that. It really helps us out a lot to keep the show free,
Yeah,
to keep
even
us
if it's
going.
just something cheap. We got 19 cents off some headphones
That's
I bought
right.
for the show.
That's
So.
right. And if you want to follow us on Twitter or Facebook, you should do that. We have a lot of great conversations that happen. You can find us on our website has all that stuff. And what else am I going to say here?
We want to really push the fans.
Fan thing, yeah. Submit your cut all this submission. You can do that on the website too. Summer of Fans page.
Your name, where you're from, and just say cut all this. That's all we need.
Yeah, basically visit our website. It is great.
It's a good website. You did a good job, Dan.
Thank you. If you like the episode, please rate us on iTunes. We really appreciate that. And if you have a friend who likes this episode, please share this episode with them and let them argue with you about what we think. And you can find me personally on Twitter. I'm at ThenDanSays.
I'm at Jackie No Breaks, and check out my Use It in a Sentence Facebook/page something. I don't know.
Sure, just Google Use It in a Sentence. It might come up. And if you're in the Brooklyn area and you're listening to this the day it comes out, you're in luck. You can still go to Brooklyn Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia Night at Berry Park, which I co-host with friend of the show Dan Ozzie. That is the first Thursday of every month. Links for that on our website as well. And if you live in Toronto, Chicago, Vancouver, Calgary, I think Ann Arbor has this trivia night now. You can just Google Woohoo Classic Simpsons Trivia Night, find more information about one of those near you. We'll be back next week. We've already said we're going to be watching season 26's, I think it's called Bart's New Friend. It's the episode that Judd Apatow wrote.
That one.
Well, if you go to the website, it's up on the website, including a link to Simpsons the World, so you can just go watch it. And that has been worst episode ever.
Yeah, and so we're gonna do our summer fans. Submit your cuddle this. We do have a very special one since it's our 30th-versary. Happy 30th-versary.
30th-versary, sure. Is that three of the four
That's three
that
of
we're
them,
gonna
yep.
come up
Yeah,
with?
I think about two, but whatever.
And a thirdery. Done. There's the
all
fourth.
right, and we're done. So what do we got for us, Dan?
So we have a submission from Kevin Hawthorne from Rochester, Michigan, who has submitted a little song that he wrote. So thanks so much, Kevin. We will see you next week, and play us out.
Hey guys, my name's Kevin Hawthorne and I play in a band called the Radiotypes. So I decided to put my very limited songwriting skills to the test and write a 15-second song. Enjoy. Worst episode ever. The worst episode ever. Worst episode ever. 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 Oh, ever. Oh. Yeah, you can cut all this.